as far as theater goes, how long have you been doing this particular thing here in St. George?
So we moved here 27 years ago, and so I've been doing this for 26 years.
Nice.
It just so happened I moved around the corner when we moved to St. George from California. I moved around the corner from Don and Donna Kenworthy, who are the founders of St. George Musical Theater. And they immediately grabbed me and put me in theater. I didn't even know there was community theater in town. I'd done a little bit of community theater in California and loved it and figured that was behind me when we moved here, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they got me involved, and I've been involved ever since. The first 12 to 15 years, I was on various committees. I did marketing for them, but I was mainly a performer in shows.
Yeah.
And then I was asked to come back and help relaunch St. George Musical Theater after the theater went dark for 6 years when our venue where we were using was torn down to make way for the Town Square project. So we were dark for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And so that came our comeback.
Yeah.
So in 2014, we came back. Yep. And it was all of us were volunteers at that time. Mm-hmm. And that was 65 shows ago.
Wow.
So in 10 years, we've done 65 different productions. I think 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 of them have been repeats. We just did Sound of Music in January and February, sold out every show, and that was the first show of our comeback. So almost every show was new.
Man, and that's something to be said too, because when you can do it and then doing it again, it's a lot easier, isn't that? Am I
winning an audience back? Anybody who's been in a business, lost the business, and trying to get people to come back, it's particularly challenging. Mm-hmm. But we have an amazing community. We knew had to be successful because we were successful before. I basically took everything I learned from the previous iteration of St. George Musical Theater and try to recapture it with some different changes. And, when you go through a pain or some very difficult challenge in your life, if you don't learn something from it, you just stay angry.
Yeah.
Right? Or sad, or both. And so we were determined that we would learn some lessons from what we had experienced before. And I think we did. And the community has just embraced us, and it's been amazing. And the reason I didn't know 20 years ago I'd be doing this. This was not a life career plan, but really one of those few fortunate people where your career takes a completely different turn, a right-hand turn somewhere that you weren't expecting. And it's a very challenging thing what we do, but it's also easily the most rewarding and satisfying thing I've ever done. So
yeah, that's awesome. So maybe help anybody listening, or just the dummy that I am. What's the difference between the community theater? Obviously, there's the nonprofit element to it, but thinking of what keeps you doing the community theater versus like a private theater like Tuacahn or something like, because that's essentially what Tuacahn is, right? Yeah,
Tuacahn is a regional theater. They are professional theater, and at their category, they hire a certain amount of professional artists, right? Most of their staff are full-time paid staff. They have a large staff. When you think of how many performances they do in a year, they have to have full-time staff people
to do it.
So the best way I can explain it to somebody maybe like you, think of Tuacahn as the major leagues, and think of St. George Musical Theater as the minor leagues, farm team, right?
Okay, yeah.
And we have a great relationship with Tuacahn because we both understand that relationship, and we are trying to nurture, develop the performers of the future. So we get a lot of young people, a lot of kids come into our program, and then a lot of people who maybe don't have the time to dedicate as a full-time career performer. They can come to a show here. We have moms, dads, dentists, physical therapists, teachers, people who this is a great hobby for theirs.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing about a community theater is everything we do, it flows through the community.
Yeah.
All the performers, all the tech crew, all the production team people, your directors, choreographers, music directors, all the performers, and of course, most of our audience are all right here in Southern Utah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's very, very unique. Tuacahn gets people from all over the United States, but we look at Tuacahn as a great example to us. They should inspire us.
Yeah.
And when we go to see their productions, we've had kids throughout the years. They did School of Rock a few years ago, and there was 7 kids who had come through community theater here locally that were on stage. I was a very
awesome.
proud dad moment, right?
Yeah, for
when
sure.
you see some kids that you've worked with here get on a professional stage like that. And we've had kids go on to Broadway. We've had a couple of kids in New York City right now in big shows that were born and raised and did theater here in town. So
that's awesome.
But not everybody can. That's not necessarily the goal for most kids.
Yeah.
Really, our goal is a little more broader than that, and that's just to be an inspiring outlet for people. And I can tell you from doing this for 26 years, theater does save lives.
It does. It does.
It does. Absolutely.
That the expression of yourself out in that way, it's a healthy way to do it. And I think it's cool that you have adults in the community that they're, it's like the dentist, during the day, but at night he's, the judge in Legally Blonde, or
totally.
You know what I mean?
People walk in and all the time they see their dentist there, or they see their physical therapist or whatever, and they just are blown away. They go, I had no idea, right?
Yeah. 'Cause why would you?
There's such immense talent here too. That's the other thing. It's the most common comment we get after shows. People say, I had no idea there was this much talent. It compares with any talent anybody has seen. So many of our patrons say, this is like the highest quality production I've seen anywhere in the United States. And the fact that it's $28 and it's all local performers kind of blows them away. I kind of like that, to be the underdog.
Yeah.
So when people come through, you twist the arm of Uncle Nick to go see Music Man for the 18th time.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Music Man, and you bring him in to our space and he kind of goes, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're surprised. So we have that ability to surprise people.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of like being in the underdog.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That might change when we open up a $16 million theater, right?
I know. So that's a good segue, because I know finding the location, the Electric Theater on Tabernacle to begin with. So there's a remodel going on there?
Yes,
or there was?
On the west side of Main Street, anybody who's been in town over 10 years knows where Anderson Lumber used to be, behind St. George Place, which is the new name for the old Kmart Mall.
Right.
So just south of that, there's 2 empty acres. You can see our sign there.
Yep.
So we've reached an agreement with the city. This is what's cool about it, is it's not costing the taxpayers any money. The city maintains the 2 parcels. We're just going to improve it. We're going to build our theater on there.
Yeah.
And then after 30 years, if the city wants to build it, they can have it. So it's a total win-win for the community.
I think I read it was a 40-year lease. Is it 30?
I think it. Okay, so we might have a 40-year lease there, and then a 20-year lease on the property across the street.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
but either way, I thought that was awesome.
I
thought it was awesome that was kind of the way. It wasn't like they're selling property, right? They're like, hey, here.
And there's no tax increase to the community at all.
Yeah.
And that was really important to us.
Yeah.
Other theaters have gotten ballots passed where they approve a tax increase to help pay for things. It's
a
okay.
bond of some kind. or something like that.
I'm okay with that. If the majority of the population is willing to pay for it, it's cool.
Exactly.
But in our case, this is really a partnership with the city of St. George. We've been in partnership with them for many, many years, and it's been a great partnership, and they realize the value. And you, being in the real estate business, will appreciate the higher vision we have, which is to take that section of South Main Street and turn it upside down and make it a really cool space.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of space down there that isn't really getting utilized. And it's close to the freeway, so the access to the community.
700 yards by my count.
Yeah, right. It's
right.
perfect. That's exactly
I got
right.
off the freeway a couple times. I said, let's see, that's not even half a mile off the freeway.
Yeah.
And so the bigger vision is we have a 400-seat theater on the west side of the street, in the round, of course.
Cool.
That's what we've done. We've always done that, since 1999. And we're going to have a few cool technological things, like a trap. So that's a stage floor that drops down so you can redress it and bring it back up.
Cool.
Have LED walls on each side.
Nice.
Very comfortable seats with great visibility. And we're trying to maintain the immersive, intimate presentation that we have now. That's a part of our signature. This was what our patrons tell. One thing they love about us. We're going to try to maintain that. In a couple of the sections, there's only 2 more rows than what we have now in the Opera House, and a little bitty Opera House where we have 125 seats.
Yeah.
So we're going extra, making extra effort to maintain that intimate space. That's the first thing people ask. Don't build it too big, Bruce.
Yeah.
Right. And so we won't.
This is how I feel about baseball. Like, baseball is meant to be played in a stadium like Wrigley Field, and then the athletics, Vegas, stadium. They just released like what that's going to look like and how big that stadium is. It's like nobody wants to watch baseball like that.
So
a real baseball fan does not want to sit 7 freaking miles away from home plate.
Comparison of major leagues and minor leagues.
Yeah, right.
One of the coolest things, and I couldn't do it this year, but the last few years, we've driven out to Scottsdale, Arizona, out there in Arizona to watch spring training.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Small locations. They're mini versions of professional baseball arenas,
right?
Like 3,000 people, 4,000 people, affordable ticket price, and I get to see Clayton Kershaw pitch.
Yeah,
from 100 yards away.
Yeah,
I mean it's life changing.
Yeah, it's the way baseball is supposed to be watched.
Oh my gosh,
right? So
I wanted so bad to go out and see Shohei Ohtani, this year.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that doesn't mean everybody. If you want to go see Taylor Swift, you got to do it with 20,000 of her favorite best fans, right?
Exactly.
We get it. We totally get it.
Yeah.
And there's the market for it. Awesome. But what we've experienced over the past 25, 26 years is you could have seen Sound of Music, West Side Story, My Fair Lady several different times in big venues. But when you see it in a small, intimate venue, it really changes the experience for you.
It does.